get old. I'm always jamming back here.
I was worried it was going to cut back and I was going to be.
You just can't help it.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a special live stream for the Central Mafia. It is not 3 o'clock on a Thursday. It is 1 o'clock. We decided to start early. Yes, sir, because it is important and we need to take care of business. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I am Juan Mac. I am with an MSP over in Jasper, Indiana, Matrix Integration, and also the facilitator for the Central Mafia. And as you can see, I have two lovely ladies with me. We have Lynn Williams from MSP OneShare. Hi, Lynn. And welcome.
Hello,
And we have Monica Ozaruk. Did I say that?
Nailed it. Yeah.
Yes.
We didn't even practice beforehand.
No. It's just like, hey, Monica. I was like, no, I have to say your last name. And we all had a great time last week over at ChannelCon. And we're just talking right before this how a fantastic event that was. So hands up to the GTIA community, because that was really great. So
yeah, I think Juan did it better than us, Lynn, because both of us got a cold, but Juan was out running every morning. So apparently there's something to this whole
that what that is?
fitness thing.
Yeah, it was that fresh air.
Oh.
That healthy San Diego air. Salty.
San Diego air. Yes, I couldn't take enough of it. All right. So those of you who are not familiar with the Central Mafia is an MSP community. It is built by MSPs for MSP. What that means is we have an advisory council that is pure MSPs, just like you. So what we do is we get together and we want to get our community, create that networking through education. And that's what we're doing here today. What we have is a series of live streams just like today to keep the community engaged. And we also have 4 meetups a year. We have 2 in Chicago and 2 over in California. And as a matter of fact, our first meetup is coming up on September 17th over in Brewer Ridge. And then our next one is just around the corner as well. So it will be over in Anaheim, California, over in close to Disney on October 8th. And if you would like to register for those events, all you have to do is just go to our website, centralmafiaug.com. That's for Central Mafia User Group, right? centralmafiaug.com. Go there, and there's a link to register for any of those events if you are close to the area. And the most important thing is it's free for the MSPs. But we're looking forward to talking to everybody and extending those connections, because that's how we grow. We don't grow in a bubble. We need each other in order to support. So very excited. And this live stream is being sent over to our LinkedIn, being sent over to our YouTube, and also to our Facebook. So at any point, if you see something in here that you feel like you want to share with somebody, just head over to our YouTube page, and you can share that. Or if you want to watch it again, same thing, just go over to our YouTube page and it will be there. And the best way to find it, just go to our website. There's a link over there for it. So, Lynn, thank you so much for coordinating this, because this live stream is sponsored by MSP OneShare, because we have one of our members here. And why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about MSP OneShare?
Absolutely. Well, I have to first off and say, yes, Monica, I do have a cold from ChannelCon too. Did not get up and go running. But I am just overjoyed to be here with Juan and Monica. MSP OneShare is very, we exist to also, just like Central Mafia, is to partner and to grow together. We are the first and only MSP buying group where we are owned by our members. So there's no annual fee as well. And everyone is an owner. So all of our MSPs buy 1 share of stock in our community for $500. And that's all they ever pay to belong to our group. They get a natural stock certificate in the mail. And if they ever want to get out of our group, they just sign the back and they can get their full $500 back. So we are also run by an advisory council, board of directors of our members, elected by our members. And we just negotiate best pricing, any other group, community, or association. And then also, for the first time ever, rebates back for our members. So super excited to be here and support you at Central Mafia. Monica, I met you at MSP Geek Con, so shout out to Mendy for that great event as well. We don't put on our own regional events because there are so many out there like Central Mafia, MSP Geek Con, Channel Pro, that we want our members to focus on reaching out and supporting the great events that are already out there. So with that said, just glad to be here. If you want to be a part of MSP OneShare, you can go to msponeshare.com. Again, there's no annual fees. And you just buy one share of the community and you're an owner. I would love to chat more about it. So go to our website or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for that opportunity, Juan. And I can't wait to hear Monica share her wisdom. It always blows me away. So I will sign off and let the professional take it over.
Right. Thank you, Lynn.
My pleasure.
So yes, we are here to learn. And I think what I put on my post when I was resharing this is how can we fine tune the engine that runs our business, right? So I know a lot of us have implemented our PSA or ConnectWise PSA in our case, and what the examples that you're going to use. And over the years, a lot of times we're just like, well, we just do that because that's the way we always done it. But it changes. There are improvements into the system. Sometimes accounting methods change, directions change, strategy changes. And it's always go back to look into the engine and make sure that it's running correctly. So that is what Monica is going to share with us today. She's going to bring all of her expertise, talking to a lot of ConnectWise partners, going through the implementation, consulting, fine tuning, and so she has the that years of experience in the ears of all the MSPs and all that, all their pains. And she just condensed that into one session for today. And I will hand it over to Monica. And please tell us more about you, more about your firm, and what we're going to talk about. And I'll let you take it from here. Otherwise, I'll keep talking.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Juan. And what I loved, I know Lynn's in the green room now, but she talked about purchasing and having a buy group and rebates. And I think what's interesting is all of us purchase every day. We're all consumers. We all buy things. Your MSP is no different. And if you buy smarter, if you have a better procurement process, you're going to have better cash flow. You're going to be able to do more. And I think I really started because my whole background's in procurement. I did an undergrad in business, postgrad in supply chain management and purchasing. So to me, everything looks like a big supply chain. And before I kind of came into the MSP industry, I worked as a purchaser in enterprise roles, so at Dyson and at Whirlpool. And I noticed that sometimes the procurement person was not the most valued person in the organization, to say the least. So this is for all those people who are doing the purchasing at the MSP, feel really frustrated and like there must be an easier way. And I'm here to tell you that there are. I've taken some of those best practices from my schooling, from my experience outside of industry, and I'm hoping to bring it in to MSP. So I'm going to try sharing my screen. If I just leave accidentally, it's because I clicked the wrong button. So we're going to see what happens here. Share screen. You never know. So here we go. You should be looking at the Procurement Health Check. I am hoping that is the screen I am sharing. Amazing. Thank you so much. My Vanna White over here is helping me with my my whole process. And as Juan mentioned, I do consulting mainly for ConnectWise. I came from an ERP background, so SAP is where I kind of cut my teeth, and my first client happened to use ConnectWise, so that's the system I'm most familiar with. However, by working in a bunch of different systems, I can tell you they're very similar. I'll be demoing in a ConnectWise environment. If you're using Halo Autotask, they have similar screens. And so I want you to try and find that within your system. Juan is going to interrupt me and ask questions because this is something I love talking about and can get really in the weeds on. So he's going to keep me honest.
Sometimes I just can't help myself. what
Yeah,
happens.
we made a deal. Amazing. So when we talk about procurement, this is just a little refresher. And what I want to say is that you need to think about the life cycle of your products as they move through your system. So there is the demand gets created when you put a product on a job. Sometimes there's an approval process. This is usually informal within your organization. So someone says, the service manager says, yeah, go ahead, buy that part. Or maybe finance says, no, we're not buying that. That's too expensive, or the cost has changed, etc. Then your items get purchased. And this is where most MSPs say, okay, we did our due diligence, we bought the product, and then the product kind of goes into a black hole and you have no idea what's happened to it until the point in which you need to invoice the customer. So if you're invoicing the customer before you deliver it, after you deliver it, whatever happens, there's sort of a bit of a gap. And you might have technicians saying, hey, did that product ever show up? Or you have people saying, this showed up, we have no idea what job it's for. Or did that get delivered to the client? Did it get drop shipped to the client? Do we know where that product is? So we're going to talk a little bit more about the received, picked, and shipped statuses, which are actually 3 distinct states your products can be in. And when I say products, I don't mean just your hardware products. I don't mean just physical products. These can be licenses too. So just because you've been provisioned a license, does the customer have everything they need to start using that license? The
So
other thing I'll
basically,
mention,
anything that goes
sorry,
into your inventory.
anything that goes into your inventory or anything that you are selling that's not a service, I would say. Yeah. And I will say that there's a lot of workarounds. So if you have clutter in your system, it's okay. I've seen it all. I understand that there's been workarounds in the past. So yeah, this is what we're going to chat about. If I logged into your system right now, these are the 6 things that I would check. So especially in your ConnectWise, these are the screens that I would look at. And the reason I have this little scorecard, which I think, Juan, we made available to everyone, and if not, we will. It's a downloadable scorecard that you can use to score your own system. What is kind of scary is that when I log into a client's environment and we look at these screens, sometimes there's products that have been sitting there for a year, sometimes 10 years. The oldest and longest I've seen is a 20-year backlog,
Wow.
which I mean, it's a long time. It was an on-prem ConnectWise system, so there was a lot of old data there, and that's fine. You can operate an MSP and have this data cluttering up your system, especially if you never look at those screens, sure. But if you want to start mining your data, if you want to start understanding your data and your cash flow and how products move through the system, this is all garbage data that you need to get cleaned up. So I like to think of myself as the Marie Kondo of ConnectWise.
And that kind of happens to me when I'm going back, because when we first started, when we implemented ConnectWise, we didn't go into the procurement module. So there was a lot of products that were still created as part of our quoting process and sales process. And when we went through that and we opened, and we saw that, we opened, I was like, oh, good Lord, we have so many products and we have to go through that cleanup. Is it still a good practice, like part of these things that you're going to share, like even if you don't have that procurement module enable enough for using it, to still have good hygiene on
Yeah,
your system?
absolutely. So even if you don't have the procurement module enabled, which I haven't really run into many people who don't have it enabled anymore. I don't know if ConnectWise,
Yeah, looking back, it's like, I wonder
yeah.
if now it's integrated. We have it for so long that I don't ask anymore. So if you're out there and don't have it, you might want to reach out, or if you have it and are using it, good session to rewatch, because
Yeah, I think the scariest thing there, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that it used to be optional. So the procurement module used to be optional. You had to enable it. I think it's enabled by default now, and ConnectWise can tell me if I'm wrong. Because when I look at it in some of my clients' environment, they have no idea it was running and that it had been running for so many years. So that's almost scarier, that you don't know it's enabled, it's collecting data, things are getting stuck in it, and you don't know that that's happening at all. So yeah, good point. I'm glad it happened to you. I'm sure it's all cleaned up now. So
It is.
yeah.
And I'm taking notes too.
Amazing. So here are the 6 areas that we're going to cover, and I'll explain why each of them are important. First, we're going to look at closed job demand cleanup, the open purchase order aging, which is one of my personal favorites, a stuck in progress items, and then we'll go into your inventory accuracy and stock controls. If you're a finance background or a finance person watching this, you're going to want to pay special attention to that part. We'll talk about vendor invoice reconciliation, which is something so many MSPs don't do, which I would love this because this affects job costing and the quality of your reporting. So even if you don't have the procurement module enabled, this vendor invoice reconciliation is really important. And then the last one, number 6, is a product item master hygiene, which is actually just a quick win. So it won't take too much time. For those finance people, because you can't have procurement without talking about finance. This is my disclaimer slide, so you don't have to read all of it, but I hope you're fired up after this. I hope you're excited about this. Please don't go into your system and just start creating invoices and purchase orders and sort of setting fire to your ConnectWise PSA system. There are some things that can trigger accounting implications, and I'll speak to those. So we want to make sure that you're being careful as you clean up your system. And Juan, I don't know if this happened to you where all of a sudden you started cleaning up and then your accounting people said, "What's going on?"
Maybe.
Maybe.
I get a lot of the blame for a lot of things. So
Well, we don't want that happening to anyone else. So, I'm too excited. First up, we're going to talk about closed job demand cleanup. One thing that I want to mention is that just because in your ConnectWise a project is closed or a sales order is closed or a service ticket is closed does not mean that the products on that sales order, project, or service ticket have been marked as shipped. And this is a huge thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, and I don't know that we do the best job educating, is closing something at a header level, at the actual job level, does not mean it's fully closed from a procurement standpoint. So just because you closed a project from 20 years ago, that's why those products sit there for 20 years, not marked as shipped. You got to make sure there's a couple extra things that you do to ship out those products and really indicate that the job is fully closed. So I'm going to explain one more concept, and then I'm going to open up a ConnectWise system to actually show you these things because who cares about just talking about it? And then the other one is open purchase order aging. So as you create purchase orders in your system, you should also be closing purchase orders in your system. And the oldest purchase order I've seen that has been legitimately open has been 3 years old because of a product back order. That's an exception. Most of the time, your purchase orders should be closing in a reasonable time frame. And so let's take a look at this. So this is a ConnectWise system. This is my demo environment. And the first thing I'm going to do is take all of you under the procurement purchasing screen. I love this screen because I love to do everything in batches. And if you're a procurement person sitting here and you log into each sales order individually or each service ticket individually to buy products, I would love it if you didn't have to do that anymore and you could look at all your product demand across your whole system in one place. That place is your purchasing screen. So you're going to hop in here and you can see everything that needs to be purchased in your system. The goal and the scorecard for this screen is 0. So if you're looking at this screen right now and you're looking in your top right-hand corner, you don't have to put it in the comments if you don't want to, but please put your number in the chat as to how many lines you have right now sitting in your purchasing screen. Highest is 27,000 lines. So you can't be that bad. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, you do it.
Yeah. Hey, I want to play along. Let's see.
I'm a bit nervous now.
I had to hit search. I was like, man, I'm a winner. I'm at 0, negative.
So no lines?
No, I have 188.
Okay, so that would be out of the perfect score of 2 on the scorecard, you would be a 1. That's okay. It's fine. That's actually not too bad. And what I'll say is some things that people don't look at in this screen are this charge to status and charge to. People don't know these columns exist. They're hidden in your little view list. I'm sure Halo does have something that looks similar where you can look at the charge to status. This is the most important column in this whole purchasing screen because why, as a procurement person, would I buy product for closed jobs? And this is a cash flow issue. I've seen it happen so many times where a product isn't really needed anymore. It doesn't get canceled. And then procurement goes ahead and buys it and it shows up and the job's already been closed. We never needed it in the first place. So if something is closed, a job is closed, but there's still products here, don't buy it right away. Find out from whoever the job owner is if you still need this product and you're going to cancel it properly, or if it got pulled from somewhere else, you're going to mark it as shipped. There's things that you're going to be able to do to clean up this screen and not have to see closed products anymore. I like that so much that I create a view for closed. So I actually go in and say charge to status is closed or canceled or completed. And I just have a view that shows me everything that's in that status. So I never buy these products without asking. Juan's doing it live, guys. Look how focused you are.
Yeah, I was looking. And I can explain a whole bunch of stuff.
I can explain.
No, I did notice that the majority of mine are sales orders, not
Yep.
project. So I know
Yep.
why.
Yeah.
So at least it gives me an idea. And Tony, congrats, Tony. He won the prize. 0.
Tony, bring Tony in here. He can host the rest of the session.
Yes.
Yeah.
Team is killing it. He has 0.
We
We have Carrie, and she had 72.
That's
So
actually very good. Yeah. Those are excellent. Yeah.
I took the consolation prize.
Yeah.
The participation.
And this is where you can the participation trophy. This is where statuses can really start to leverage and give your procurement people more information. So we always think about working in silos and we're trying to remove silos between departments. I have clients who use sales orders and the statuses are new and then approved to purchase. So they just change the sales order status and then your purchasing person can see everything in approved to purchase all at once and buy them safely without worrying about anything else. So that's another way that you can kind of leverage the information that you're transferring between departments. Awesome. So yeah, this screen should be 0. Start with your closed and then just work back, see what's happening, create views that help to go through this screen and slice and dice it to clean it up. The next one is we're going to look at purchase orders. So hopefully all of you are buying directly to jobs. And what I mean by that is you're taking your items, you're creating a purchase order. Once you create that purchase order, what you see is the sales and service information. So you can actually know exactly what ticket or sales order you bought your products for. So when you receive things, you know exactly where to put them. But all that aside, as you continue to create these purchase orders, they start to build up. We start to see a real buildup of purchase orders in the system. And that's the next thing I want to look at, number 2, which is your PO date. So PO date, this is an excellent example. I sort oldest to newest. And once a week, you should be looking through all your purchase orders and see if they're actually still open. This is where you can start to get a little proactive with your vendors and send notes and say, what's the expected ETA? What's happening with this? As you can see, some of my older status say requires escalation. This is where if I were a procurement person, I would be sending everything into a requires escalation that's older than a specific date to send to my manager, to send to a finance person, to send to someone other than me to say, this has been on hold for a really long time. We need to escalate that. So yeah. I'm not gonna ask you how many old POs you had. I'm gonna give you guys a break on that
I
one.
was just taking notes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and by the way, you brought something on what you're talking about, all the different screens. Something is like super useful just across the whole platform. It's just a great instrument of use, just to be able to narrow those things out. And something we do preach quite a bit around here. It's just like basic that it applies to the whole platform there.
Yeah. One thing I'll say that's platform agnostic as well is that every status should belong to a department. So if you have a status for something, the change in status should move the product along. And if I am finance that and requires escalation as my status, I should be looking at that on a regular basis. So the status alone should tell you who's got the ball.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to keep flying through this. We did these two, and now we're going to hop over to stuck in process items. My my postgrad in supply chain is going to call this WIP inventory, work in progress inventory. You can call it whatever you want. And I know MSPs usually don't have a warehouse and they don't have maybe a designated storage area. But one thing I've been noticing over the past few years is that MSPs are carrying a little bit more inventory, especially post COVID when it was hard to get things. We're seeing a little bit more minimum stock. We're seeing people start to have more things in house, especially if you want to do any sort of provisioning or anything at your physical location. Sometimes things will get received. So you'll buy it on a purchase order, it'll get received, it's sitting at your warehouse, but we haven't really marked it as shipped. And this is inventory. This is stock. So if we were insuring your building and an accountant said how much inventory you have, so many companies would say, well, I have, $200,000 worth of inventory sitting on the shelves. Okay, well, how much do you have sitting allocated to jobs? How much do you have sitting allocated to your projects, your tickets, etc.? That needs to be counted as well, and that your finance person would usually call that WIP inventory. This is also where so many products get stuck, and we're going to show you what that looks like. So these are the big numbers. Now we're starting to get into some real dirty data. I love it. Under procurement, we're going to take you to a screen that you've probably never looked at, which is the product pick and shift screen. My single favorite screen in ConnectWise. It was a late add. I don't think this screen used to exist. I think it got added maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So it's a great place to go to look for dirty data. When you first come in here, you're going to have a not picked, not shipped. I like to look at the not shipped tab. So if you want to drag not shipped over, you can. More than welcome to. What we're looking at are things that have been picked but not shipped. And so I put my quantity to pick as 0 to say, yes, this product has been picked, but no, it has not been shipped. So not shipped, quantity to pick is 0. I have 27 lines of products that have been received, allocated to a job, and not shipped off that job. Now, I'm going to do a skill testing question, Juan. If I were to look for this Rally Bar Mini, where should the product physically be today?
Physically be?
Yes.
If it's been picked and not shipped, it should
Yep.
be in that warehouse.
Ding, ding, ding. How often do you think that that's true?
Not often.
Almost never. The first time you come to this screen, you're going to look at this. It's going to be thousands, if not tens of thousands of lines. And we're looking at that same friendly charge to status. We're going to look at all our closed jobs and we're going to say, oh, those got shipped a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. but the responsibility usually isn't there. There isn't always someone who's responsible for marking products as shipped. So that step gets missed. And that makes sense because you can invoice a product without shipping it. ConnectWise will let you do that. Other products, other systems will let you do that. So it seems like there's no harm in letting these things sit here. There is, because then when the client says, hey, when did you deliver that AMP, whatever, 150 to me? You say, well, I don't know. I have no idea when we delivered that to you. So this is my next favorite screen to go through, find items and mark them as shipped. Again, this cleanup can happen in bulk, which is really nice as well. Any questions at this stage? I know we're going pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that is something that I remember when we were going through this, that we had to repeat a lot of times inside our brain, like the pick, not ship. It's received,
Yes.
which means it's in our inventory. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is I'm putting myself on the spot here.
I know.
It's received, right? So it should be in my inventory, somewhere in my inventory. Then it's picked, meaning it's being allocated to something. And ship means it left the warehouse. I no longer have physical access to it.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
I like to visualize it as a line almost right after or right before the door that products go out of. And I say, this is the shipped line. When something crosses this line, it gets marked as shipped in ConnectWise. Otherwise, ConnectWise has no idea. And you actually brought up an amazing point, which is, oh, this is in my inventory. Yes and no, it's not in this screen. So once something gets picked, it's not in your inventory management screen anymore. It's been decremented from here, which is why I was saying from the insurance perspective, you can say, oh, I'll just insure myself for everything that I have sitting in stock. Well, you have everything sitting in stock, and you also have everything that's been allocated to a job.
Yeah, and I think that was the trick. Like when it gets picked, it means like it's allocated to something. It's going to follow a project or a ticket, and later on there will be it can be invoiced, but it needs to leave because now it's at the client side.
Yep, exactly. And once you start marking products as shipped, you can use packing slips too, which I could do a whole hour on packing slips, but we have to follow the rules. We have to go through all the things we promised to tell you. I would say that the pick not shipped, and then we also do receive not invoice, but pick not shipped, someone should be looking at that weekly to make sure it doesn't get messy. Most things, review them weekly. Now, inventory accuracy and stock level controls, this is just a pain, and it's really tricky to clean up, but I see it all the time in ConnectWise, so I have to mention it in good conscience. There is a setting in ConnectWise where your inventory can go negative. And depending on when you were first set up in your system, whomever set it up, there is this do not allow on-hand count to go negative. If this is not selected, you have negative products in your system. And all negative products mean is that you had an inventory class product, it kept picking, there weren't enough on the shelf, the product went negative. So this needs to be selected. Please, you can do that today. I can pause and let everyone do that. Just clicking the button does not mean that you've fixed the problem. You still have old negative items in your system, and you'll be able to tell what they all are from the inventory report detailed. So if we go into our inventory valuation detail, I apologize, I'm going kind of fast through the reports, but it's here under procurement, inventory valuation detail, and we're going to include negative. This is where you're going to be able to see what items have ever gone negative in your system. And thankfully, yeah, I have one right here. So just because I click the box doesn't mean that the negative has disappeared. Those negatives are probably still in your system. You need to do inventory adjustments to bring them back up to 0. And those have accounting implications. So please, I think I have a YouTube video about this. I'll drop the link afterwards. do it step by step. Tell your accounting people it's happening.
So Monica, you said that they're like the reason it goes negative because we have the ability to continue to pick a product. What will be a good example of that? Like, in what situation somebody will pick something that pretty much doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're in a project, let's go into purchasing. And I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to pick an inventory class product. Normally,
is that key? It has to be. It only happens on an inventory class product.
exactly. So inventory class products are amazing because they will do the math for you. They'll count how many you have, they'll count how many you're getting, they'll count the demand of how many are needed, and they will keep you honest. They'll make sure that you don't overdraw, that you order when you need to order. And that's inventory class items are great because you can keep some stock on hand, place some orders, and if your orders are less than your stock on hand, you'll never see the product in purchasing. It'll say, "We have enough stock. Don't worry about that." You can start taking advantage of minimum stock quantities. You can just have a little bit more cash flow and a little bit more certainty of fulfilling orders. And when an inventory class product is set up correctly and you go to pick the product and we go save and next, save and next, save and next, it will say you don't have any of those. So an inventory class product, when you aren't allowing your products to go negative, tells you you don't have any, do not pass go, do not collect $200. You can't keep picking this product. If that little checkbox is deselected, this warning never comes up and it says, you want another one? -1. You want another one? -2. And it just keeps decrementing your stock past 0. And that has all kinds of problems because then when you're trying to fix your system, when you're trying to start taking advantage of minimum order quantities or whatever it is that you're doing, that system has the hangover of that negative and includes that into its math.
It just spells inventory control nightmare.
Nightmare. And your finance people go, what do you mean you have negative inventory? It creates a negative valuation too. So I had a client pull the negative inventory report and see how this says negative $330. They thought they had $1 million worth of inventory. They had $2.5 million worth of inventory, but they had so many negatives that it was offsetting their inventory valuation.
Interesting.
Underinsured. I feel like this is just all the worst things I've ever seen in my client's environment. Monica's horror story hour. Awesome. All right. So we'll go into and so the target is 0 negatives, accurate system inventory. We want to make sure that there's no negatives. That's the start. Then we want to make sure that your inventory is actually correct, which is going to be under your inventory management screen. And we want all these numbers to be fine. The negatives don't show up in this screen, which is why you have to run the report. So if you're looking at your inventory management screen and you think, there's no negatives here, I don't have any problems, please run the report and double check. Awesome. All right. Vendor invoice reconciliation. So you wouldn't just walk down the street and someone says, hey, you owe me $100 and you give them $100. I hope. If you give away to charity, if it's out of the goodness of your heart, live your life. But what I will say is just because someone tells you you owe them money, you should be checking to make sure that that amount is correct. And vendor invoice reconciliation is a huge part of this. This is system agnostic, something that you absolutely should be doing. In the enterprise level organizations I worked in, we never paid an invoice unless we had a purchase order that matched to the penny. So we would take a vendor invoice, we would look at the purchase order created in our system, they would have to match exactly. That includes freight, additional charges, fees, anything that happened needed to match. I know, I hope you're all making sure these things match, but sometimes they don't. So sometimes in ConnectWise, a purchase order gets created. Then there's some other things that get added. Maybe there's some fees, maybe there's some freight, and you don't really add it to the purchase order. This information goes over to your accounting package, and then AP looks at it and pays that invoice. The more information you can put into your purchase order, the happier your finance people are going to be. And freight is a huge part of this. So if you are buying things and you have freight that gets added to it, you can add the freight cost here to increase that vendor total. What I don't like about this is it spreads it into a different category. It kind of spreads it over all the jobs and it doesn't go back to the job costing. So this isn't really going to tell you the P&L or the profit that you made on a specific project or job. It's only going to show you the profit agnostic of the freight. And so maybe your project margins are a little overstated if you're not taking into account all the additional fees that are incurred when you are buying your products. And I know that's a lot. So if you want to jump in, Juan, happy to.
Yeah, I believe what we do is we have an actual line item called freight, and it's mapped to the GL account that they should be. And
Incredible.
we just add those when we get the freight, so it's part of the project or the sales order. I think that's how we do it.
That's perfect. Whoever
Yeah.
told you to do it that way, gold star, you've redeemed yourself from your purchasing screen. Head held high. That is exactly how I recommend my clients to do it. I don't like using just freight and it going to a freight account and not knowing what job it was from. So I actually do go into the project itself, exactly as you mentioned. I add a line called freight. It's just a cost. I set this up in my product catalog as just a cost. I set it as do not bill because I don't want the client to see it, but I want to incur it as a cost on my project. And then once it's there, I can add it to a purchase order. And I usually don't do that from here. I do it from my purchasing screen. And then I add it to the existing purchase order. So if I go into my purchasing screen and I look for my freight, I would then take it and add it to the correct PO. This is great because it's going to increase the total amount of your purchase order. You're going to have it on here. And this can be something that gets done after you send it to a vendor too. Everyone gets worried. They say, oh, well, the vendor is going to be confused if they see a line on it that says freight. You've already sent this purchase order to the vendor. They've already approved it. That happened a while ago. Now you're adding more information into your purchase order to make sure that you're truing up that subtotal before it goes over to accounting. So yeah, you're doing it perfectly.
Yes, I was checking, and we do have that. We actually have two. We have one that if it's a freight that we receive from the customer, sometimes we receive something, we have to ship it over to the client, so we have additional
Right.
freight.
Yeah.
So it's just called freight from Matrix.
I do this with everything. I have so many non-inventory class products that I do. I have them for subcontractors so that I can create subcontractor purchase orders because subcontractors will tell you, "Yep, we did it. Give us $10,000." No, no, no. You want to make sure that someone's approved that cost is being allocated to a job. Again, I usually set my subcontractors up as a do not bill so that the client doesn't know that you're necessarily using a subcontractor, but you can add it to all those jobs. And then I make sure that the vendor, sometimes I have different SKUs for different subcontractors, and I put the subcontractor vendor name in there as well. Never pay an invoice without a purchase order. Awesome. Target 100% validated. So you never pay anything without looking at the purchase order. And this one is just a fun, easy one. Again, system agnostic. This is something your purchasing person or your finance person should be doing on a weekly basis. A lot of the time, there isn't as much control as we would like for new products being created. So, in our product catalog here, if you're using CPQ, if you're using a different quoting platform, there's lots of different products your salespeople can choose from. Then it passes over into an opportunity. And as soon as the opportunity gets created, those products are going to be in your product catalog. And this is true for a lot of systems. Those products, it's easiest to fix them when they get created and not at the time of invoicing them. So my recommendation is to create a view that said, what are all the new products that got created this week? Which in my system, nothing exists, but let's pretend it did. You can look at all the new products that were created in the past week. They're still probably on an opportunity. They might not be on a job yet. You wouldn't have had any visibility to them otherwise. But at this point, you can make sure the class is correct, the category and subcategory are correct, the price and cost are correct. Maybe a salesperson quoted something from a vendor you never buy from, and you actually have stock of that under a different SKU name already sitting in your warehouse. This is a great check to go through and to go back to your salespeople and say, why are you quoting these products? We have older versions of those products we want to get rid of. We have other options. We have preferred products, whatever it is. And this is that feedback loop that, again, helps to reduce the silos between your departments and helps get your procurement people talking to your salespeople.
On this one, on this screen, when you talk about
Yeah.
like the hygiene of the actual catalog,
I see you were looking at something related to hygiene on the screen.
Absolutely.
It's the worst $180 that I spent on an AI machine. It's supposed to listen to me. It never listens to me. It just listens to me when I don't want it to listen to me. I digress. We're talking about the catalog. I mean, we've been using ConnectWise for 15 years now. So over over time, we've been creating products and products and products and products. We have a process like every year we look at our catalog, and catalog can have been purchased or really purchased or quoted within the last 3 years. We mark those as inactive.
Yep.
Is that a good idea? Every now and then, when somebody wants to quote something that we mark inactive in this system, will complain.
Yeah.
But just to try to keep that a little cleaner, so it's not as saturated.
That's fine. My only problem with inactive, to your point, is that it's so binary. It's either active or it's inactive. And again, there's no communication between departments. So I guess this is a bonus tip that we're going to be sharing today. Because
Okay.
as you'll notice on my screen, I have this active status called active and then discontinued, for example. This is just a custom field that I put into my product ID, and I have this active status here that kind of goes through some steps that a product might go through. This is so helpful for exactly the scenario you're talking about. You could put anything that you maybe still have stock of, but you don't want to buy anymore into a discontinued status. And that's going to let the rest of the business know, hey, yes, we have this product, but please stop selling it. And then at the end of the year, when you go through and you're inactivating your products, it's like a note to your future self saying, hey, this is a product I really want to inactivate. As soon as the last product sells or as soon as it's off the last agreement, I'm going to go ahead and inactivate this. And that's how to keep a cleaner product catalog as you go through the year so that when you do that year-end cleanup, it's so much easier.
I love it. It's almost like just like you have a product life cycle, no different than we deal with our different vendors, saying this product is going to be end of life, by the way, in exactly this day. So, and by
Yep.
having it in here visible, it's without doing a mass communication, they can see like which stage that product is on right now. That's fantastic. I love that idea.
I mean, I would do a custom field with end of life date and actually put the date in, include it in list view, and be able to look at it. So then you could just look at anything that's old end of life and go ahead and activate
Yeah,
it.
retire. Okay, love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, short and sweet because it's operations. Review this weekly. There's a handbook. So all the things that we talked about, there's 6 self-assessment areas. You go through, take a look at it, see where you're at. A lot of the people in this chat have done an amazing job with their purchasing screen. And I'm hoping that the takeaway is procurement really shouldn't be an afterthought. A lot of the time, especially in some of my MSPs that aren't as operationally mature, they just have people buying things and they don't have one centralized person who's doing procurement. They have people creating purchase orders who maybe aren't aware of all the implications of that. It is nice to have someone looking at some of these screens on a regular basis to make sure that your system stays really clean. So hopefully that's the takeaway. And, product life cycle.
The other one. That
Yeah.
was the bonus tip. The bonus.
Awesome. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right. So I got I took my notes, right? So start with your procurement screen. That's the first place to go. Check on all of your different products. Make sure that your number is not 188. It's 0, like Tony. Next step, purchase orders. Check out the date for the purchase orders. I believe I'm going to verify this with you. Should be around 90 days when the
Yeah.
POs.
Yeah, it depends on your life cycle. So it depends on how long your products take to come in. I would say most stuff's current week usually. So I would say 30 days is a good place to start.
Yeah. All right. Check out negative inventory. Go in your setups, make sure that that is checked so you have no negatives, and use the inventory valuation report to make sure that you have the right valuation. Go to your inventory management screen. Make sure that everything is all set up, and don't pay without a PO.
Thank you.
Tony's asking, where do we get the handout? What's the best way to do that? I don't know if one thing that we can do is if you send it over, I can repost it and I can put a link to it there, Tony, so you can download it. So I can take this information and just repost it with a link to the handout.
Yeah,
that'll be easier for anybody who's comes back and try to watch the video. It will be right there.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great.
We can definitely do that. So Tony, I'll get that to you. I got your email, dude. So I'll email you directly. But I will also post it for everybody.
No, only Tony gets it. That's it. Everyone else has to email Tony.
Yeah, because he got the price. He was at 0.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's a price. So perfect. We are almost at the top of the hour here. So thank you, Monica, for sharing all of your knowledge here. I think that regardless of the PSA system that you're using, it's good to have good inventory controls, good practices when it comes to your obviously for accounting. But we just look at just one little piece of that, right, which is your procurement process. I will bring Lynn back on so she can say goodbyes, because I saw that she got back on screen. So you're muted. Hold on, let's unmute you.
I am blown away. I know we're just talking about it, and this is definitely not my forte. I love the people and that sort of thing. I leave the nitty gritty professional deep dives to people like you. And cash flow really does affect everything we do, right? Whether it be personal or businesses, and people. It's not just the numbers, because if you want to reward someone with a raise, or you're looking at hiring a new person, it really all revolves around cash flow. So what you're talking about, Monica, really does affect everything. Because if you have a clean system and you know where your things are and the numbers are correct, you can make better, more wise business decisions. So thank you. And thank you, Juan, because you guys just you blow me away.
Well, thank you, Juan, for being such a good sport. And thank you both for having me. It's been a pleasure. I love when anyone lets me, get in the weeds on all this information. And Lynn, to your point, it does make a huge difference. If you get these basics down, you can do more fun things like negotiate with your vendors for volume discounts and carrying a bit more inventory. And there's all these other fun things that you can do for vendor scorecarding, but you can't do that until you get your basics right.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing, both of you.
Absolutely. Thank you for coordinating this, and thank you for to MSP OneShare to supporting the community and supporting education to all of our MSPs.
Absolutely.
Just another component, right? So we can all be successful. So one more time, Monica, if anybody wants to get in contact with you or any.
Yeah, probably LinkedIn is the best. Again, my name is Monica Ozaruk, and I think my LinkedIn will be in the handout as well, but just shoot me a message on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Very,
Oh,
very
there you
easy.
go. Oh, easy.
Copy paste.
Fabulous.
So again, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Lynn. And for those of you out there, if you find this useful, just keep following the Central Mafia, because we'll continue to have these conversations, like our regular live streams, and along with MSP OneShare as we bring this to this community. So don't forget to go to our website to register for upcoming events, September 17th over in Chicago, Burr Ridge. So you can talk to other MSPs out there, meet people, like Monica and Lynn. They can just get you connected and learn more about that. So with that, thank you again, ladies. It was great to see you again, and I am sure I will see you soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.